Welcome back to Wire with Nolin RECC. Today's episode features a tour of the landfill gas generation facility at Pearl Hollow in Hardin County, Kentucky. The generation assets are owned and operated by East Kentucky Power Cooperative, the power provider for Nolin RECC. In this interview, you'll hear from East Kentucky Manager of Landfill Gas Generation, Michael Curtis, and East Kentucky Landfill Gas Generation Technician for Hardin County and Glasgow, Skeet Givens.
Yeah, of course, they put this plant here in 2006. It was the fourth plant that they built like this, and the same thing. And basically, it takes we take the methane gas, which is a byproduct of the landfill. They have to collect it at a certain point. You know, it starts making so much that it escapes to the atmosphere. So it's a greenhouse gas. They collect it, and they have to, at that point, flare it off, or we come in and we buy the gas from them and run it in our engines and produce electric, and we just push power back onto the grid. They tell me that we're one of the cheapest power that East Kentucky is producing. So we're able to take a waste product and turn it into something, you know, usable. And for every kilowatt we can produce, that's a kilowatt that one of our big coal-fired plants doesn't have to produce. So we can produce up to 2.3 megawatts.
Run 24/7. There's no, we try and keep them running as long as we can. They've been running 24/7 for 19 years. Our engines have quite a bit of hours on them, the same blocks, same switch gear, all the equipment's, you know, what was put in here originally. So that says something about East Kentucky's maintenance program, you know.
Yeah. Caterpillar engine. When this plant was built, I actually was working for the local cat dealer and did the startup, the commissioning of these units when it was built. And what we got, 6?
Plant-wise?
Plant-wise.
Yeah, 6 plants.
6 plants. So, yeah. Of course, most of them are in the eastern part of the state, you know.
Northern Kentucky.
Yeah, northeastern part of Kentucky. From what I understand, East Kentucky Power provides power to most all the co-ops east of 65 in Kentucky. So pretty big operation, really. So our generators, you know, are piston or reciprocating type engines, of course made by Caterpillar. They take the gas and they burn the gas and run the engine. The engine turns the generator. We produce the power at 4160 or 4,160 volt is what we produce it at. It comes through our switch gear. It is then synchronized. Our power generators are synchronized with the utility grid and closed in. And at that point, we start to push out power. Basically, we throttle on the engine, and it pushes the grid is an immovable object, basically. So we push against that, and that's how we push KW out. It goes out of our switch gear here through a transformer and back up to, I believe it's 13,000 or 1247, whatever the distribution voltage is out here. And from there it goes to your house. Our switch gear here, it does kind of the magic part. It controls the throttle and the voltage of the generator output, and there again controls how many kW each engine produces.
Right now you can see we're running 2 engines. That's one of we're very dependent upon the fuel from the landfill, so we have to really watch, you know, how hard we pull on it, and the landfill tells us what vacuum they'd like to be at, so we don't, our fuel source is a living thing, so it's the microorganisms in the trash that break it down and produce the methane gas. So you can overpull them and hurt them, so we work closely with the tuners to know where we can run at. Right now we can run 2. They're thinking after this current project that we'll be up to 3 full load for the building. So when all the oxygen depletes out of the trash, once they cover it, those bugs start eating the trash and they produce the methane gas.
Kind of the same way your septic tank works at home. You know, there's microorganisms that break it down, and they're in there breaking down the trash, and as they do that, through their life cycle, they produce the methane gas. The gas we receive is usually in around 50% methane, whereas like pipeline gas is 99% methane.
Yeah.
But ours is going to be methane, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen.
Yeah.
And then I always said anything that ends in ane. There's a little bit of hexane, pentane, propane, all those things. Some of the additives are not additives, but the properties that are in the gas are a little bit corrosive or a little bit hard on our engines.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of maintenance on the engines, but you know, we just have to work with that. The other problem we run into is the gas changes slightly from day to day, and the engines don't like that. They like, you know, steady flow of a constant quality of gas, but we've learned to work with them, you know. And
so everything, barometric pressure, rain, any weather event changes the gas quality. It'll move around. So we're constantly chasing that. And we can show you in the room back there, we have a gas chromatograph. That's how we measure the content of the gas, and that's how we actually pay the landfill.
So this unit here is our gas chromatograph. It takes, it automatically takes, I think every 15 minutes. 7 to 15 minutes. 7 to 15 minutes. Yeah. It takes a sample of the gas, runs it through its analyzer there, and it gives us, here on the screen, tells us the quality of the gas.
So you can see that's the breakdown of the gas right now.
Yeah, see right there. That's
real time.
Yeah, the amount of methane, nitrogen. Yeah. We got a little bit of oxygen, 1.2% oxygen. Of course, carbon dioxide is 36, but there we are, 53 methane, which is pretty good gas. And like he said, rain helps the well field because it forms a seal over the well field and traps the gas in there, and then so we usually get a little better gas on a rainy day.
Yeah.
So is there any combination that you don't want? Like if you see something in that mix?
The main, what we fight most of the time is oxygen. We like to stay below 1%. We're good around 1% oxygen. You get up above 2% really starts to show on us, and about 3% we can't run anymore. So that's probably our worst enemy that we have to deal with. The carbon dioxide and the nitrogen, that's pretty much just a function of the well field itself, of nature, you know.
So that's a typical gas well, and you can see from the map here, and this is an outdated map, but you can see how many wells there are on the landfill itself. Each one of these little yellow dots is a well, and this is the well. So they'll drill.
That map's a little outdated. There's
like a 2 foot or 3 foot bore, and then they'll put some perforated pipe in, and that's how the gas actually gets into the well. So we're sucking on this. This is the vacuum line. That's when I say they tune. That's the valve they adjust to tune to let more vacuum on the well or less. So you can see there's perforated pipe. The gas will get in there because there's suction on it, and then it's solid. And they put bentonite seals so no gas escapes. So once a year, the life cycle of our engines is, you know, they were put in here 19 years ago, brand new. Every year he talked about the gas being kind of destructive. So we'll pull all the cylinder heads and we'll grind the pistons back down clean, and then we'll put them all back on, and that's what we call a top end. So you'll get a top end, the next year you'll get a top end, and then the third year we'll pull the liners, the pistons, the heads off, and we'll put all new back. That's what we call our end frame. So then it'll get 2 more years of top ends, and then the 6th year they'll actually go out for the major overhaul. And we'll disconnect everything. East Kentucky's heavy equipment crew will come in, we'll move the engine, we'll slide it out. They'll take it to, right now we're using the local cat dealers, strip it all the way down to the block, build it all the way back up, and we'll bring it back and slide it back in, hook it all up, and fire it up and go. So, but the top ends I talked about, where we replace all the heads, we shut it down that morning, we fire it up at night. The end frames, we shut it down, and 2 days later it's back up and running. You know, we bring 4 or 5 guys in here and we just go after it. The major overhauls, that's usually about a month to 6 week turnaround that it's gone, and So we try to minimize the downtime and keep them running as much as we can. Because like he said, that offsets coal, and we are the cheapest electricity in the company.
So that's they're 3516 Cat engines, and Caterpillar actually designed that as a diesel engine. And you know, at some point this is basically a diesel engine converted to gas. You know, it's standard from Caterpillar, but like I said, that was designed as a diesel engine. While we're standing inside, because we can't talk out there, you can see that's our gas line comes at the other end of the building. There's a separate room for our gas compressor, basically, that produces low pressure gas into us. So like I say, we're coming from the well field at a vacuum. It comes from the well field. Outside there's a flare, we'll show you that. That flare produces the vacuum on the well field and burns off any excess gas that we're not using. From there it comes into our gas compressor skid in a room at the other end of the building. You can't see, we'll look at it. That gas skid produces it up to about 4.5 psi, 3.5 psi, and that's what our engines need to run on. But that's the pipe you see that are hanging down to the carburetor and the stuff on our engines. Of course, the other is the exhaust pipe. Our cooling systems, our radiators are horizontal radiators set out back with a fan and stuff on them, and the piping runs out to them for our jacket water and aftercooler circuits.
Since it came online in March of 2006, the Pearl Hollow landfill gas generation facility has produced over 180 million net kilowatt hours of electricity. That total represents the equivalent of powering over 148,000 average Nolin member homes. Thank you for joining us for Wire to Wire with Nolin RECC.